Hey everybody, John Brown with you here again today with my second review in 2 days. So I won't be able to keep this pace up all the time with work, but like I said, I really want to keep making the channel a priority, so I'm going to try to get some reviews out. And today, I'm going to be looking at the Ancient World. I'm going to do something a little bit different today and spend hardly any time at all describing a game. Rahdo does a great run through of this, so if you want to see how the game is played, that's a great example of how to do it. So I'm going to do a super brief overview and then just get more to my thoughts on the game. So it is a worker placement game, and there's a lot of worker placement games lately that have special ways so that you can't really block people and special workers and whatever. This kind of is a little old school in the way that you can really block people from spaces and is considered kind of mean. A lot of people have been talking about how mean this game is, but it's interesting because, that is the basis of a lot of worker placement games in the first place. So it definitely has some of that kind of old school, block people being one of the fundamental things. The theme of it, there are these big titans coming to attack our different tribes, basically, and we want to defeat the titans and do other things to get influence among the, I believe, 5 different tribes that we can attract. And the more of those banners we get, the more of that tribe we attract, the more points we'll score at the end of the game. So we're going to look real quick at the board and the components, and then spend a little bit more time talking about what I actually think of it, and not so much time on how the game is played. Okay, this game is designed and illustrated by Ryan Lucat, who's done some other games like City of Iron, who has a very nice art style, like quite a bit. Here's the board. Here are some of the different titans we can attack. There are 3 different levels of titans, as you can see, that get harder to beat, but give you more banners, and that's going to be where the end game scoring is. Different places to play, armies we can get, and buildings we can build into our empire that give us special abilities, and again, these banners. So these banners up here in the top of the cards are how we're going to score points at the end of the games, and they are found on the cards that we can build and the titans we can attack. And when we fight titans, they might damage some of our buildings we have to repair. There's 2 resources in the game, money and knowledge. We can get space to build more buildings, so on and so forth, repair buildings, get more workers. And one interesting thing, certain actions only become available in later rounds. Like you can only start to have babies basically in the 3rd round. Then in the 4th round, the B deck of these building cards come out, which give us more powerful buildings. So the endgame scoring is actually really simple. So these are all the A deck. We'll go through not all of those. The attacking titan is the only thing that doesn't take a worker to do. So we play through until everybody passes. Now one of the things on the board here, one space here in the middle, repair 2 buildings and get a coin, and if you're the first there to go there, get the first player marker anyone can go to. A couple of the spaces, like the build buildings here, you can go there with anybody, and if someone else has the same number worker, then you don't have to pay anything extra, but if no one does, you have to pay an extra coin. And then that is the same over here in the get more army units. So each player is going to start with 3 workers. They have 2 more they can potentially get, numbered 4 and 5. But all of the other spaces on the board, if you go there, so, here, most of the spaces here, to get more fight for the round, basically, you have to go there with a higher worker. So if someone goes there at the beginning of the game with their 3-level worker, no one else can go there for that round. So that is a really big deal, and obviously how the game can be considered kind of mean. So you have armies you start with, and you pay them to fight, and you have to pay them more each time, but eventually one of the neat things about the game is whenever you get more armies, as long as you haven't activated that army this round, you can retire them. So eventually an army is going to get really expensive to fight, and I can bring it over here, and I can retire one of the armies that I've probably used to fight at some point during the game. But then when I retire it, they pass on that knowledge, so that now when these people fight, instead of having 2 arrows and a sword to fight, they now have an extra arrow, and then eventually if they retire, and you can see on the top of the card what will be there. Now this will be passed on to the next person they'll place on top of them. There's other abilities like get a coin whenever you fight, repair buildings, and all different kinds of things like that. So that's a really neat mechanism. These buildings give you stuff at the start of your turn, different abilities for gaining certain types of things, and especially in the B deck, there's quite a few get bonus points for scoring certain types of banners. And the endgame scoring, for the most part, it's just super simple. At the end of the game, you have to have food resources for all your workers. If you don't have resources at the end of a round to feed workers, then you don't get to use them the next round. And remember, buildings can get destroyed by titans, or at least damaged by titans, and you have to repair them. If at the end of the 6th round, if you have any workers that aren't fed, you'll lose 2 points for them, and then you'll gain points for each color banner based on how many you have. So you'll get anywhere from 1 to 11 points If you have more than 6 banners of a color, then that doesn't score you anything. And basically, you add up your banners and then any bonus scoring that you might have from certain buildings, and that is it for the end game scoring. And tiebreaker, I think, is money. So this end of game scoring is a little bit, simple, but ends up being pretty interesting. So let's talk about that now. So there you have it. You play through 6 rounds. You place a worker, everyone goes through. You can attack a Titan by paying troops, and that doesn't cost anything, or you have to spend a worker. And you keep playing through until everyone has passed for the round, and you move on to the next round. It's a little complicated initially just to understand all the iconography. You can only have so many soldier units, so you have to retire one to get another one out, unless you have icons that let you get more soldier units. You can only have so many buildings in your empire and stuff like that. But once you kind of get the iconography and what everything does, super simple, really, worker placement game. And I personally really like it. I've got to play it a few times now, and I like how different the games have played based on what comes out. It seems like, people want to get more workers out, but you need food, so you want the buildings that give you food, and sometimes there's a rush for those. The turn order can really matter, so being the first person to go get that turn order token for the next round can be key. But you also want knowledge, because you start the game with money, and it's easy. You're going to get 5 money every turn, and then more money based on cards, buildings or different, even Titans. Some Titans give you a money every turn. All the Titans give you end-game scoring bonuses. And just to give you an example, so like the one that was on the board, she will give you a red banner at the end of the game, but then 1 money every turn. You have Titans that give you ability to build more buildings, to have more space for that, all different kinds of stuff. So once you learn that iconography, it's a pretty simple worker placement game with that key of, blocking people can be big. I actually managed to win a game without getting any extra workers, and that's one of the things I'm going to say I like about this game. You can legitimately, even though it's pretty simple, play different strategies. I initially thought getting those extra workers was huge, because if I have a level 4 or level 5 worker and no one else has that level, I go somewhere, it's off. Now it's off if I go there with the highest worker no matter what. It doesn't have to be higher than everyone else. And then some of the spaces, they can still get to, but that's a big thing. So I thought, getting those workers early was going to be huge, but not necessarily. I've played a game where I focused on buildings and only fought a couple of Titans all game. You can try to go heavy in the military. And another thing I'm going to say I like is that, and this is part of the reason I bought the game, I really like that retiring an army unit and then passing on their knowledge to the next unit, and then they're passing on their knowledge to the next unit. And the game ends up being, 90 minutes is probably a pretty good estimate. You can probably get it, I would say, even a little under that once everybody learns how to play it. It can move pretty smoothly, and that's a neat mechanism. And also, I had just kind of finished watching Attack on Titan, I think, when I saw about this game, so that probably helped me wanting to purchase it. But that's a neat mechanism. So overall, it's pretty simple. A surprising amount of depth, in my opinion, because the game can play differently based on how many available ways to get knowledge come out. Their buildings give you knowledge every turn. That's great because, like I said, it's easier to generate money. If you don't have something that generates knowledge, there's that one space that you can pay 3 money to get knowledge, and that might be the only way you can get it. So there can be a lot of competition for that space if people don't have it. But if they do, it's not a big a deal. And you can go heavy military, you can go heavy buildings, you can try to balance it out. So, a decent amount of depth for what ends up being a pretty simple game. Now, why people might not like it, if that idea of blocking your friends or whatever, if you're not the sort of group that likes that sort of thing, is glad that some of the worker placement games, some of the more modern ones, have some more ways to mitigate that sort of just, I might even go here, it might not even be the most ideal thing, but it'll stop everybody else, that sort of gameplay, then you may not like this. Interestingly enough, the first time I played this game, we played a 4-player game, and it plays 2 to 4, that there was a lot of bickering, and people seemed almost angry, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder if people are enjoying this game. And we got done, and everybody's like, yeah, we like that was cool. So if you're playing with people that are okay with that, again, a surprisingly high kind of learning curve initially, well, this symbol is how many buildings you have, this is how much food you have, but once you get over that, pretty simple. Now, yes, you can get blocked out of spaces. You can have turns where maybe you have 2 guys left and you don't really have, seldomly you're going to have nothing to do on your turn, but it can feel like that, especially in a 4-player game. But you have to try to plan for that as best you can, and have alternate plans. Maybe have buildings of your own that give you a worker placement spot and things like that. So overall, this is one of those games that I personally like because it has that neat, overall pretty simple game, not too many spaces to go, not too many things to do, but a decent amount of depth. I haven't played it enough to know if it really has longevity, if it starts to get kind of old eventually after you've really seen all the cards in that, but there are enough cards I feel like in both of those building decks that, like I said, games can be different from each other. There are a limited number of Titans, so if you're playing a game where everybody's attacking the Titans, they can run out into different levels. The higher level Titan you attack, the more dice you roll, and that's something I don't think I mentioned, because like I said, we didn't really go over the gameplay that much, but if you attack a level 1 Titan, you roll 1 die, 2 dice, 3, and nothing happens, you can lose a coin or damage a building is how the damaging of the buildings works, so these kind of specialized dice. So overall, great artwork, good components, the board's fine, it's mostly cards other than that. It's funny, one little odd thing, there isn't like a round marker. It said to put a coin and keep track of the round. I don't know, not that I needed to make another token just for the round marker, but I did find that a little odd, but no big deal. So overall, if you have a group that likes to play friendly and doesn't like that kind of nastiness with each other, with blocking people out and that, then yeah, you probably want to stay away. This kind of has an old school block people worker placement feel. But if you have a group that can enjoy that and have fun with that and enjoy a game despite, knowing you're going in doing that to each other, it's a decent amount of fun and complexity for a game that overall, the rule sets are pretty simple. I mean, on the back of the board, or the back of the rule book here, this is kind of what you need to know. On a turn, you can place a guy or attack a Titan, what happens at the end of the round. And the endgame scoring, probably my two favorite things are I like the endgame scoring. You can watch what other banners people are going for, try to get those full sets for 11 points, and it's a neat, simple way of doing it, and I really like that retiring the army thing. So overall, if you don't mind being mean in your group, pretty cool game. And if it is a problem, then yeah, look for something else. Alright, thanks a lot guys, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. Alright.